Here's another country and leader that we are told we are supposed to hate. Kim Jong-un has ordered support to the Palestinians. And if you follow North Korea, once again, everything that you've been told about North Korea is a lie, is bullshit by Western media. It is South Korea that is the fascist government that brutally arrests people for simply praising North Korea, for mentioning the fact that the United States and South Korea killed millions of their people. You will be sent to prison in South Korea if you tell the truth about North Korea. But people think North Korea is tyrannical because Kim Jong-un has the audacity to oppose the West. How dare North Korea be the victim of a sanctions regime, Robert?
Yeah, and if you want to know the most ironic thing about the Biden administration acting like, Putin is Hitler, or they'll act like Trump is Hitler, the craziest thing is that objectively and statistically speaking, I can't remember a regime, I'm going to call it a regime, worse than the Biden regime when it comes to actually enabling Nazism globally. Because remember, they've spent $120 billion in Ukraine. But we know because of that CBS documentary that at least 70% of the weapons that went into Ukraine are not making it to the front lines. So what does that mean? We know that the Azov battalion is a huge thing there. They have all these right-wing nationalist and overtly Nazi militias in the Ukrainian military, which are just taking those weapons and they're going to end up on the black market, or a lot of them are just going to end up in the hands of actual Nazis in Ukraine. And right now, they're trying to send $61 billion more to those Nazis in Ukraine. And here's what's going to happen. All those weapons are going to end up in the hands of these insane Ukraine and neighboring countries. Like the Georgian Legion has one of the most it's called the Georgian Legion. It's one of the most sadistic militias out there. And they were recruited as like mercenaries to fight with the Ukrainians. They're all just heavily weaponized now because of what Joe Biden did. And, that's really the pot calling the kettle black when you're talking about how Putin is more like Hitler. It's like, no, to be fair, Joe Biden has enabled Nazism more and certainly will in future years than any president in recent history. And as far as Navalny goes, they're like eulogizing Navalny, completely ignoring mainstream media and all of our politicians, completely ignoring that he was an actual Nazi and a CIA asset as well. They're going to, mourn that guy. They're going to, in the Canadian Parliament, they're going to stand up and applaud an SS 96-year-old guy from World War II named Yaroslav Hunka. Like, bro, we have to look at ourselves if you want to see where the real Nazism problem is. And objectively, we've sent hundreds of billions of dollars that is likely going to turn into weaponry that ends up in the hands of Nazis in Ukraine and other Eastern European countries. So, I mean, that's really the pot calling the kettle black when you talk about Biden and all of these other neoliberal, these elitists calling Putin the next Hitler. Is like, no, to be fair, we've done our fair share of enabling Nazism globally over the last 3 years.
All right, so I'm begging you guys to decolonize your mind. They said, no, North Korea are bastards too. Based on what? I am asking you this question. What information have you received about North Korea? All the information that you're told about North Korea are CIA spooks and information that cannot be confirmed. You want to know that can be confirmed? In North Korea, they don't have a homeless problem. You know why? Because they provide homes to their people. We got Skid Row out here, and you guys are judging North Korea? You want to know who stood against apartheid in South Africa? North Korea. You want to know who's been an ally to the Palestinians for years? North Korea. You want to know who opposed United States empire at every single turn and liberated their people against a genocidal regime who killed millions of their people because they simply chose a different ideology to them? North Korea. They feed their people. They often give free food to their people. You guys hate North Korea because the United States put sanctions and starved them to death. You guys criticize North Korea because their government struggles to maneuver between brutal Western sanctions. Think about that for a second. You condemn a government because they struggle with financial sanctions and the West destroying them. They take care of the people better than they take care of ours. They provide health care to their people, housing to their people, and they resist imperialism and war crimes whenever they see it. They have friendly and close relationships with Africa because they stood in solidarity with Congo and many African countries that was victim to imperialism. If you're someone who anti-empire, you are friends of North Korea because they've been standing against the empire every step of the way with brutal consequences. Why do you think they've been starved to death? Why do you hate them? I'm asking you the question. In the United States, we have people who are food insecure, aka starving. We have Skid Row, millions of people homeless, medical debt. And the question is, who's sanctioning us, Robert? Who's the giant empire that's sanctioning us? Meanwhile, our country can't take care of their people, and you're criticizing North Korea, even though the entire Western regime starving them. If you listen to the media, you start hating the people who are oppressed and loving the oppressors. Are y'all serious?
Anyway, yeah, it's a classic Western media trick is to impose a bunch of sanctions on a country or embargoes or, completely cripple their government using CIA ops and then blame socialism in that area as if that had anything to do with it. It's like, no, they're failing because they do this with Cuba too. They have the embargo. They never mentioned that we're just embargoing the shit out of them, which is part of the reason why they had a poverty problem. But if you look at what's actually going on in Cuba, it's amazing what they've done with their socialist government despite the embargo.
North Korea educates their people. They create doctors. They educate them without them going bankrupt. How pathetic are Americans that you guys live paycheck to paycheck? You guys are in debt because you had the crime of wanting to be educated, and you have the nerve to criticize another country, a country in which we starve? We got a student debt crisis here. You got people in debt, people living paycheck to paycheck, people are starving with no sanctions on our country. The biggest cowards are the people who live in the empire that are the most violent, brutal empire that's a police state that imprison 1/4 of the world's prison population. But you want to go after North Korea? Where's their prison population? They keep making all these stories about the prison population. Where's the receipts? The United States imprisons more than every other country, but you guys think North Korea is a prison state? North Korea loves and appreciates their leader because he's fighting for their people. He provides services for their people. And American people can't even wrap their minds around it. So they think they're brainwashed. No, they understand that the North Korean leaders are being punished by the Western regime because they are standing up against them. You have the West that killed millions. Look up the Korean War. They killed millions of Koreans. And you guys wonder why there was a genocide in Korea. Simply because they chose a different ideology. What do you guys think happens to a populace where millions are killed, and that was only a generation ago? So you have North Korean leaders that immediately rebuilt their country and fed their people while at the same time regaining their sovereignty, unlike the traitors in South Korea who sold out to Western capital, which is why their suicide rates is off the charts. They live in the fascist authoritarian state. You guys know in South Korea, and I'm sorry this is gone off the rail because I got to educate some people here. You guys know in South Korea, you get sent to prison for telling the truth about North Korea. If you don't repeat the Western propaganda about North Korea, if you have a Facebook page and you start praising them, they will send your ass to prison in South Korea. But you guys think North Korea is the authoritarian state? You guys have no information. The United States is the most propagandized country in the world. You guys have no idea about the countries you guys are criticizing. Another thing a lot of people don't know, you guys know weed is legal in North Korea? Kim Jong-un loves some marijuana. Something else you don't know. You guys know you got to humanize your enemies. You will never know that. They got a big stoner culture. Weed is very common. Beer is another thing that's very common. Beer is a very big part of North Korean culture. They have beer all the time in North Korea. People are taught in America just to blindly hate other countries. And it's a coordinated attack to paint the picture that everyone is living in horrible conditions and we should be thankful to be American. You know what I mean? I just want you guys to think about this kind of stuff. the North Korean people have been sanctioned by the West, been brutalized by the West, and he still feeds his people, still houses people, still provide them health care. We are sanctioned by no one. We stole billions of wealth, trillions in wealth of Africa and the global South, and we still have poor white people. People are like, what about the poor white people? How are the poor white people in this country, considering how rich we are, considering the crimes that white people committed? Every single white person should be rich, but you guys are not, because the system sucks. But you guys want to worry about North Korea as you got poor white people. Poor white people in the richest country of all time, but you guys worry about North Korea. Fucking colonized brainworms. So that's a side segment. And I did that mostly just so you guys can start the decolonization process regarding North Korea and any person who's an enemy of the United States. Because you have Bernie Sanders and Dr. Cornel West and all these Western leftists who I despise now, who they say we resist the United States empire, but we believe all the smears regarding their enemies. You have right-wing chuds that say, I'll never trust CNN. I never trust the New York Times. I'll never trust the Washington Post. But they believe everything they say about socialism. They believe everything they say about China and North Korea. You're not as anti-establishment as you think you are. So as people hate North Korea, you have the United States that being very open about their intention. This is what the traitorous scum in our country, the people who sold us out to our hostile genocidal regime, this is what they're saying about the genocide in Gaza.
I've seen the footage of
You've seen footage of
shredded children's bodies, and that's my taxpayer dollars. I'm going to bomb those kids.
So I think we should kill them all.
You guys think you hate North Korea though? You think Kim Jong-un is evil? You guys think Xi Jinping is evil? You guys think Putin is evil? So she described how children are being shredded. In response to that, he doesn't even deny the fact that children should be killed. He said we should kill them all. So they've been saying this a lot about Trump. We should take them seriously, right? Take them at face value. Here it is again.
That's my taxpayer dollars. I'm going to bomb those kids.
So I think we should kill them all. If that makes you feel better.
Everybody. Just in case it wasn't clear. A clear incitement of genocide. Every single in a just society, it's not going to happen because we don't live in a just society and international law is not real. But if it was, every single one of these senators, and I'm talking about all 50 of them, because all 50 of them support this. All 50 of these senators will be, all Republican and Democrat senators, I should say, will be sent to The Hague for their support of Israel genocide and their incitement for genocide. There are people that think North Korea, Putin, and Xi Jinping is evil, as we have senators that are saying this. Anyway, anything else you want to add to this before we move on? Let me put the next one up.
Nah, when people tell you who they really are, believe them. And it's weird to see him actually have a moment of honesty, because usually the politicians and the people at the State Department, they at least do their due diligence to pretend like they care about both sides. You know, it's usually the Israelis and Israeli media themselves who are the ones that are most overtly coming out and saying things like this. Like the IDF head, Yoav Gallant, he went viral early on after October 7th for saying, you know, we're laying siege to Gaza. We're cutting off electricity, food, water. These are human animals we're fighting right here. But usually you will not get that kind of candor from, you know, senators and congressmen. But as it turns out, you know, some of them are just kind of like, fuck it at this point. Let's just be honest. And that's, you know, I appreciate his candor, because now at least we know that, you know, he's a psycho and you know, he's all for genocide. So I almost wish all of them would just be honest, because we know that truly Democrats and Republicans, they're all on board for funding Israel, no matter how many children they kill. But this is the only guy with the balls to come out and actually be like, yeah, kill them all.